Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Good morning, folks. Happy Monday. Thank you for letting me share my son's talents. That is my son. You can find him on Apple Music, and he's got albums, and he's a very talented young dude, and puts his emotions into his music. So if you want to check him out, you can check him out on Apple. He's got some pretty good songs, and songs about my parents, and he's just very wise beyond his years. So thank you, guys. Good morning. Good morning. I want to share with you guys my Monday morning. So I know some of you may or may not know, I'm absolutely petrified of frogs. So this morning I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be motivated because I was a lazy ass all weekend. And Paper Chaser, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. I didn't know if you ever had known that my son was a musician. It's Ryan Heinz. Ryan, R-Y-A-N, and last name Heinz, H-I-H-E-I-N-Z. Thank you guys for following. We've got some new followers coming hot. I think that's from Facebook. So thank you for following on Facebook. Hey, Prepper 101. Hello. So I'm petrified of frogs, right? So I'm like, I'm going to get up this morning. I'm going to be motivated. I'm going to get in the shower, and I'm going to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. Well, it didn't quite happen that way, but I am bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
You're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
But look at this shiz. I took a shower, right? Look at this. This little bastard was in my shower. Okay. So this is like crazy, right? Because I look down, I'm all lathered up, right? I know this is a sight for sore eyes, or, but here I am in the shower, lathered up, and this little fucker is by the drain. And I'm like, oh my God. Right? And its eyes get big as saucers, and it's staring at me. Look at its eyeballs. Check it. Look at the eyeballs on this sumbitch. Holy. And it's missing its front hand. Where did its front hand go? Help me. So I'm in the shower, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm trapped. I'm absolutely trapped. So I send the picture to Potato, and I'm like, Potato, what do I do? She's like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm fucking trapped. So he hops to the other side of the of the thing. Oh, and he frogged me. So check this out. So then he hops to the other end, and there the little mat is all messed up because I'm flipping out. I hop out of the shower. He's cute, my ass. So then he hops out and he's on the towels, and I'm like, how do I get rid of him? What do I do? So I'm like standing in the back of the bathroom. Anyways, he was a smart little guy. He ended up hopping down like the smart little guy he is. He went to the door and he allowed me to open the door, and he exited the door. He went outside. And I was like, thank God. But I think this might be the little asshole who was in my bedroom a few months ago. Thank you so much, you guys. Check out my son, please. You know, I'm like, yesterday, I'm like, I need some new intro music. I need to play something new because I'm sick of that, whatever that song was. So I'm like, you know, why am I not using his music? It's amazing. And I found that one, and I liked where he said with the suicidal tendencies, yeah. And also the piss all over your content. I thought that was cool. And he is a part of the Bruiser Brigade. I don't know if you guys, maybe Paper Chaser's familiar, out of Detroit. Danny Brown. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him, but yeah, well, he's not paying rent. So something happened there about that. Frogs are a sign of good luck? Really? All right. Well, I'll take your word for it, Robin. But that was my Monday morning. I hope yours is going a little less exciting than mine. So, hello, Trixie. Hello, good morning, everyone. I want to say hello to the moderators that showed up this morning. Cheryl T, my beautiful Auntie Cheryl, Robin. And who else do we have? We have Mike Sanner. Good morning. And it looks like that's it for now. Good morning, Combat Vet. Nice to see you. I think because we've had so much rain, we get a lot of frogs. I wouldn't even call them frogs. I feel like they're toads. Palmetto bugs. Yeah, I don't like those either. I don't get a lot of those, which is crazy. We get these toads. It's like my dogs were useless, as you can see. So I hope you guys enjoy my new setup on the screen. I hope it makes it a little nicer on your eyes for our lives. We're going to go over to our boob tube. There's Potato. Good morning, Potato. We're going to go over to the boob tube, and we are going to look at some new documents that were posted Thursday evening. Tarantula and scorpions. No, thank you. I would flip out. I would flip out. I don't know him well. I just know he's from, old school Paper Chaser. He's really good to my son. I'll tell you that. Those guys are really good to my son. Really good dudes. Not into anything nefarious. I know he's safe. You know what I'm saying? Ashley B says, my dogs like to lick frogs and they get high. That can also kill them. It can kill dogs. So you don't know which ones are poisonous down here either. Scary. Let's go over to the boob tube. All right. Let's get our documents pulled up here. We've got more Kohberger business, which par for the course, right? I think he's going to fight this at every chance he can. At least I feel like he is. All right, so I want to thank everyone who has utilized the new tipping feature. I know it's something to get used to. I know that it's something that you guys have probably never used before, and I appreciate the ones that have used it because you're allowing me to keep going. I wouldn't be able to keep going without my Patreon and without you guys supporting me on the Streamlabs, and you can go to www.j4j411.live. So let's get into the documents, and I thank you in advance. Your messages will be up on the screen if you use that tipping feature so that it will work just like a super chat, so I can read your messages. So the first one we're going to look at is the amended motion to stay the proceedings. And this is filed by Bryan Kohberger. So let me get my spectacles. Next time you see me, I'm probably going to have tape in the middle of these. They're so old. Okay, so this is filed by Bryan Kohberger, and it says, comes now Bryan Kohberger by and through his attorney, Ann Taylor, hereby moves this court to stay all proceedings in this case pursuant to Idaho Code 2-213. So he's asking right now for everything to halt for him. This dude's something else, man. He wants everything to halt. So if you remember the prior documents, he was saying, oh, I want to stay, but I'll tell you why after. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll let you know why I want the stay after you give it to me. Who's ever heard of anything like that? I'm not a lawyer. This is all just my opinion, obviously, but it doesn't seem to work that way. So the procedural background is Mr. Kohberger was indicted by a grand jury on May 6, 2023. He filed a, quote, motion to make available the record of all proceedings of the grand jury and a, quote, motion requesting release of grand jury materials under qualified protective order on May 19th. The state then filed their state's response to defendant's motion regarding grand jury and transcript. On March 30th, the parties are not able to reach an agreement regarding the release of the grand jury materials. In further opposition of Mr. Kohberger's motion for the preparation of grand jury records, on June 6th, the state filed their state's supplemental response to the defendant's motions regarding the grand jury record and transcript. A hearing is scheduled on June 27, 2023 to argue this contested matter. So wait for it. He's going to say, that's too long. So Mr. Kohberger stood silent at his initial arraignment to preserve his right to contest the indictment. He also asserted his right to a speedy trial. Jury trial is scheduled to begin October 2nd. Time is of the essence, he says. Time is of the essence. By the time this court hears argument on the preparation of the grand jury proceedings, almost 6 weeks will have passed from the time of the indictment. Preparation of the grand jury record will take additional time. Mr. Kohberger has the right and intends to contest the indictment. Idaho Code 2-213 allows the defense to seek a stay of proceedings within 7 days after the moving party discovers or by the exercise of diligence could have discovered the grounds therefore, and in any event, before the trial jury is sworn to try the case, a party may move to stay the proceedings and in a criminal case to quash the indictment, or for other appropriate relief on the ground of substantial failure to comply with this chapter in selecting the grand or trial jury. Mr. Kohberger seeks to stay the proceedings as appropriate relief while the matter of the grand jury is argued and prepared. He is exercising his due diligence to discover the grounds upon which to file a motion to dismiss related to how the grand jury was selected. He is being delayed through no fault of his own. Mr. Kohberger's request to stay proceedings until the grand jury record is prepared and he has adequate time to contest the indictment should be granted. The remedies allowed in Idaho Code 2-2133 are, quote, the exclusive means by which a person accused of a crime may challenge a grand jury on the ground that the jury was not selected in conformity with this chapter. A stay of proceedings is appropriate. Dated this 15th day of June, 2023, and this is Ann Taylor. And then down here where it says 1, if you look here, he's contesting how the grand jury was selected. And if you go down to 1, it says Mr. Kohberger will comply with filing a sworn statement of facts as soon as he has the grand jury record. And that's what I was talking about. He doesn't want to have to file his sworn statement of facts until he sees all of the grand jury's stuff, including their names. And the bottom line is Ann Taylor has to file this stuff in order to give him appropriate counsel. if she denies him any of this stuff that he wants, he can say she didn't provide him appropriate counsel. And we definitely don't want that to happen. But he's saying, I want all of this stuff and I'll tell you why after, basically, is what I get from it. So now the second one, there's a clarification filed. And this is from William Thompson. So here is the state of Idaho, by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, respectfully submits the following clarification of the state's position on the grand jury record and transcript issues. The defendant's reply, dated June 13th, suggests that the defense believes the state wishes to limit the transcript record to the evidentiary presentations and list of grand juror votes. Note, at the bottom of the first page of the defendant's above referenced reply, the defense refers to, quote, the grand juror notes. Although this is likely a typographical error, the state wishes to note that the individual notes of the jurors are not available for inspection by any party. To clarify, it is the state's position that the record transcript of the grand jury proceeding include everything that was done on the record and recorded by the clerk and or court reporter, including the jury selection process. So I have to wonder if Bryan Kohberger is playing a game because he knows that Chief Fry's wife is the clerk of courts, and that may make people go, or a jury go, was this done correctly? Or were they doing something under the cuff, right? I feel like he's trying to create some doubt in the clerk of courts, even though they did everything on the record. He may try to use the fact that Chief Fry's wife is the clerk of courts, who would have been the person orchestrating this. Where this is a situation where the grand jury was a, quote, standing grand jury that was not impaneled specifically for this case. Wait, were this a situation where the grand jury was a standing grand jury that was not impaneled specifically for this case, the state would likely take a different position. However, because the grand jury was impaneled specifically for the case at bar, the state believes that the transcript record should include the jury selection process. See? So the state's saying, yes, the record should include the jury selection process, and we have done that. In essence, the state's position that the transcript record begins when the assigned judge first goes on record and continues for all recorded events through the discharge of the grand jury. The state respectfully submits that this addresses the defendant's interests in the questioning of prospective jurors, as well as the nature and quality of evidence presented, including whether exculpatory evidence was included, as described by the defense in the first full paragraph on page 3 of their reply. And this was submitted on the 15th of June by William Thompson. Now let's read this statement again. So they're saying this wasn't a grand jury that was already there, already in place. These people were picked specifically for this case. And the state respectfully submits that this addresses the defendant's interest in the questioning of prospective jurors, as well as the nature and quality of evidence presented, including whether exculpatory evidence was included. So they're saying they've given them everything. Everything was on the record. Now let's go to the next one. Now the defendant comes back again. Here's Ann Taylor. Comes now Bryan Kohberger. Through his attorney, Ann Taylor, hereby moves the court to order the state to comply with defendant's first and second supplemental requests for discovery and Exhibit A and B. Exhibitees. He wants Exhibitees A and B. We don't know what Exhibitees A and B are because everything's sealed, right?
Exhibit E.
Exhibit E. The state has provided a significant amount of discovery materials and has provided written responses to the discovery requests. However, certain requests remain outstanding. So what remains outstanding, Mr. Kohberger? As such, Mr. Kohberger requests an order for the state to disclose the following items included in defendant's first and second supplemental requests for discovery. Exhibits A and B. Number 1. Request number 1. This is Kohberger through and through. Request 1. Investigative reports and conclusion from all cell phone analysis, including but not limited to any analysis conducted by police agencies, FBI CAS team, or other Idaho authorities. The state has responded by listing page numbers and audio-video file names of information and data provided to the defense in discovery. As of June 13th, 2023, counsel for Mr. Kohberger has not received any investigative reports and conclusions of the analysis of this data conducted by police agencies. Request number 4. All footage provided to forensic examiners with FBI used to identify make and model of vehicle. All reports generated related to the ID of the white Elantra. All reports, communications, and documentation related to the change in the year of the white Elantra sought. CV or credentials of forensic examiners. The state has responded by listing various page numbers and file names of recordings they have previously provided. However, so it says here, they have provided numbers, file names of recordings. However, they don't provide any reports generated, communications, and documents related to the change in year of the white Elantra or the CV or identity of the forensic examiner who identified this as the make and model of the vehicle. So he wants to know the credentials of the guy who put the wrong year out on the Elantra. I think he's trying to piece together how they went from the older Elantra to the younger Elantra. So we all wondered, like, hi, England. We all wondered, like, is there more than one Elantra? Was there one that was that year that was seen? And then was there one that was also another year? Like, was there more than one? So he really needs to know how they came about this information. So if they really aren't giving him the information of the man who got it wrong, supposedly. So I don't know what more is to this as far as being like his defense, but you know, he's trying to figure out any angle he can. And this is all part of what you get to do when you are defending yourself. Request number 17. It says, please see Exhibit A to defendant's first supplemental discovery request for specifics. The state has responded that they are attempting to obtain this information. If it exists, the state will comply with this request upon receipt. As of June 14th, counsel has not received this information. So Exhibit A to defendant's first supplementary. We'll maybe go back and try to find that. And then request 23. Please see Exhibit A to defendant's first supplemental discovery request for specifics. The state responded that they have provided AV 000123 discovered on 3/30/23. However, the provided recording is an in-person interview with FBI agents rather than the phone interview done by Moscow police. What? AV 000123 discovered on 3/30/23. A recording of an in-person interview with FBI agents rather than the phone interview done by Moscow police. With who? With Bryan? Request number 109. Identity of FBI special agent that is a member of the cellular analysis survey team that was consulted with to determine locations of the cell phone from 11/12 and 11/13 and all cast certification records and training records for the involved agents. Request 109. Oh my God. The state objected to this request for the reason that this is outside the scope of ICR 16 to the extent that the state intends to offer expert testimony. It will comply with ICR 16b7. Mr. Kohberger disagrees, as this information was largely relied upon in various warrants, including the arrest warrant. Information relied upon to secure search and arrest warrants is necessary to conduct analysis of Fourth Amendment issues. Further, the entirety of the information could include materials under Brady, required under Brady. Idaho Criminal Rule 16 covers broader area than the evidentiary rules of admissibility. Bunch of legal mumbo jumbo. But it says that they're going to have expert testimony. He wants to know who this is. Why doesn't he know who their witnesses are going to be? They're expert witnesses. I don't get that. Requests 120 and 140. All tips received by law enforcement relating to this case. The state has provided various tips throughout discovery. However, they are scattered in pieces throughout the discovery. That's usually how it goes, right? The discovery usually tells a story. A complete and chronological list of all tips has not been provided. So why haven't they given a list of all the tips? Because remember, they said they had like 20,000 tips. I feel like that's a massive amount of tips. Let's do a poll really quick and see if you guys believe that they had that many tips. Because I don't know if I believe that. That's a lot of tips. And I'm thinking maybe they kind of rused him with that. And maybe that's why he's like, okay, I want to see every single tip. Because I think you guys were bluffing. Could that be what it is? I don't know. That's a lot of freaking tips, though. Request number 136. All audio recordings related to all search warrants obtained in this matter. The state has responded that they are attempting to obtain this information. If it exists, the state will comply with this request upon receipt. The defense has been provided with a photograph of a DVD entered into evidence as item 435 23M-0085, labeled as SW audio. There is also a notation that this DVD was copied to county on 1/13/23. So he's saying there's a copy to the county and that the state also has the original. And he's saying that the state says they're attempting to obtain this information. And he knows that everybody can read all this. Request 164. Body cam recordings, notes, photographs, and all information collected at the autopsies by Tollison, Vargas, and Gunderson. And I think it's Gunderson, not Gunnerson. The state responded that they do not have these items in its possession. Clarification is needed on if they exist and are still in the possession of another agency. Counsel requests that this motion be set for hearing in order to present oral argument, evidence, and or testimony in support thereof. Requested time is 10, and then it says 20 minutes. Ann Taylor. What do you guys think of this? Why does he want autopsy? What? He wants the fucking, that's so gross. He wants the body cam recording, notes, and photograph and all information collected at the autopsies. He wants to watch their fucking autopsies is what I'm getting from this. Excuse my language this morning, but what? What?
What
the hell? That is just sick. in my opinion. Sick. Let's read that again. Request number 164. Body cam, recordings, notes, photographs, and all information collected at the autopsies by Tolleson, Vargas, and Gunnarsson.
God almighty.
I mean, Jetta from Texas says, shouldn't they only have to list or provide the info that is used against him, not all of everything? And in Letitia's, they only had to provide experts in info if the expert report was used or testified. Right. I know, paper chaser rocks. Yeah, I mean, how do you save your life, Helen Kirby, by looking at autopsy? Why does he need to watch them do the autopsy? That has nothing to do with evidence. Like, watching their bodies go through an autopsy has nothing to do with defending himself. I mean, obviously, you're going to look at the wounds, but it's like he wants to relive this. It's like he wants to relive what he did in a way. Ugh. And if you look, like, there's 8 things that he's saying he wants. And of the 8 things is that. So he wants let's go through the 8 things that he wants from these exhibitees, okay?
These nuts.
He wants the cell phone analysis. He wants the footage provided to forensic examiners with the FBI used to identify the make and model of the vehicle. So he wants to see what they were looking at in order to identify the vehicle. Okay? He wants to know how they came to that conclusion. So in other words, he wants to see exactly what cars they have video of. So that's request 2. And then request 3 was specifics. Let's go to the Exhibit A for defendant's first supplemental discovery and see what that says. Exhibit A, defendant's first supplemental discovery request. Let's go back. So I'm sure it was a while ago. Just give me a second so I can find it. It's got to be way up here, right? Defendant's first motion for... God, there's so many filings already. Was it after these came out? Nope, here's the second supplemental. So where's the defendant's first supplemental? My gosh, am I blind? Defendant's response to request for discovery. Is that the first request for discovery then? This one? So it would be exhibit, what was it? Shit. Exhibit A. Provide the statements. Okay, here we go. State witnesses provide a written list of names, addresses, phone numbers, and other reasonable means of contact for all persons having knowledge of relevant facts who may be called by the prosecuting attorney as witnesses at trial, together with the NCIC report and a Spillman report of any such persons. What's a Spillman report? Let's see. The Cowboys knew of the police investigation before Spillman took the field the day after the assault. What? What's a Spillman report? Is this all for booking? What are Spillman records? Spillman Flex Records Management Suite is specifically engineered for true system, providing your agency personnel in every department with the most up-to-date information possible. Flex's integration helps your records personnel maintain data integrity. What is Spillman for law enforcement? Provides comprehensive public safety software for police departments, sheriff's office, communication centers, fire departments, and correctional facilities nationwide. Police software. Let's watch this video. This is Motorola. This is probably something to do with the body cam and stuff. So this is what he's looking for here. Their whole system, like the Whitcomb system, probably. So that's their whole system that they put everything in, their records for their laptops and things they have in their cars, probably. So provide the statements made by the prosecution witnesses or prospective witnesses made to the prosecuting attorney or their agents or to any official involved in the investigatory process of this case. This includes statements to employees of the prosecutor's office, such as witness coordinators and all members of any law enforcement agency that has had any involvement in the matter. So that looks like it's Exhibit A. Look at number 9 under digital media recordings. He says, unredacted digital media. Release unredacted digital media to defense counsel for the purpose of expediting a resolution in a case prior to trial or hearing. Oh, this is what he's talking about with Brady. Exculpatory evidence. Provide to the defendant all material evidence within the scope of Brady versus Maryland. Specifically, any and all favorable or exculpatory evidence, information, and documents in possession of the prosecuting attorney's office or other agency or person available to the prosecution through due diligence. Inducement. Provide to the defendant all documents pertaining to the existence and substance of any payments, promises of leniency, preferential treatment, or other inducements or threats made to prospective witnesses within the scope of United States versus Giglio. And that, wow, there's just a lot. Sounds like they've given him the most stuff, though. Drug tests. Provide a copy of all documentation generated as a result of performed drug tests by the state's agent for drug identification purposes, including types of testing, testing procedures, items used, comparative analysis, and number of experiments performed in each test. Provide copies of each subpoena. Provide verification of the hire date of all law enforcement officers that may be called as a witness. So let's go back here. So number 17.
You're awesome.
You're awesome too. Thank you, Krista Graves, for subscribing. Okay, so then the next one would be the in-person interview with agents. Is this with him? Is an in-person interview with FBI agents rather than the phone interview done by Moscow police. Exhibit A. I don't know if I'm even looking at the right thing, but He wants something with the Moscow police in it. He's saying, I got this interview with FBI agents, but I want the phone interview done by Moscow police. And then the next one, number 5, is the identity of the FBI special agent of the cellular analysis survey team. But to ask for names, addresses, and phone numbers of all these people, isn't that a little intrusive and intimidating? It was Bethany, you guys think? He wants to make them all squirm, I think. The witnesses. So 52% of you believe there was 20,000 tips and 47% of you don't. That's really, you guys are cut down the middle. I'm not sure what to believe either because I don't really know how many tips are normal in a case of this magnitude. But if there is 20,000, that would tell me that they are investigating other crimes with this dude. They've got to be. There's just too much. There's just too much. But names, address, phone numbers of all these people. Request number 7 is a DVD. SW audio. Who's SW? Or what does SW stand for, do you think? I don't know who Tolleson. These must be agents or like state. Let's see. I'm going to get nosy here for a minute and see who these people are. Idaho police. I'm just going to put that and see what comes up. Let's see. Gary Tolleson. God, I've got a fruit fly in here. So his name is Gary Tolleson. And it looks like this is him here. Oh, no, that's Rudy Mendoza. Here we go. Here's a 2015 with his name on it. This is in the case of Jonathan Daniel Renfro. And let's see if this mentions him. This is written by Detective Michael Van Leuven, but it looks like it mentions this dude's name. Okay. I was contacted at approximately 2:30 a.m. on 5/5/2015. He's ISP Detective Gary Tolleson, who advised me there had been a shooting involving a police officer and that the officer involved critical task force was being called to respond. I contacted the ISP Communications Center and was advised that Coeur d'Alene Police Department Sergeant Greg Moore had been shot and critically wounded. I was further advised that the unknown suspect or suspects had taken Sergeant Moore's gun and had fled the scene in his patrol car. Holy shit. I was also told Sergeant Moore had been transported to the Kootenai Health for treatment. Let's see if there's any more about this guy. So anyways, he's an ISP investigator. That's who he is. Let's see who the other dudes are. So we've got Vargas. He's probably another Idaho State policeman, but let's check. Let's see who he is. Let's see. News Nation contributor Elizabeth Vargas is the only thing I can find. Jorge Vargas in Illinois, aggravated criminal SA. I see Danny Vargas. Okay, it's her. It's that girl. She was the one that was helping them carry out the mattresses and things. Danny Vargas. Danny Vargas. And then the other person is Gunderson. We know who he is, but I'll show you guys anyways. Officer Gunderson of the Moscow Police. Shane Gunderson. He's got no photo. He's got a big old badge, Mr. Shane. Yeah, no pictures, but you can see the list of who is still on the Mariah Atkinson, Tyson Barrett, Dustin Blaker, Anthony Dollinger, Justin Dean. Some of these I've never heard of. Diana Erickson, James Fry, Casey Green, Shane Gunderson, David Hathaway, Jason House, Roger Lanier, John Lawrence, Cassie Macy, Aaron Morris, Lawrence Mowry, Mitch Nunez, Brett Payne, Karen Potter, Jonathan Rosinski, Katie Short, Joseph Sieverding, Joseph Sieverding, Tim Smallridge, Corbin Smith, Ryan Snyder, Scott Springer, Gary Stedman, Caleb Struble, Jason Summers, Jacob Tesdall, Joshua Thusen, Krista Van Overmeer, Danny Vargas, Eric Warner, and Jay Waters. I don't know if there's anybody who was there before the murders that is no longer there anymore. I don't know. But let's go back, as we've still got another motion to read through. So now we have the state's objection to the motion. And this was filed on Thursday at 1:35 p.m. Pacific time. Comes now the state of Idaho through the Latah County prosecuting attorney objects to the defendant's motion to stay proceedings. For the following reasons, defendant's motion should be denied. On May 16th, 2023, defendant was indicted by a Latah County grand jury of 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. 3 days later, on May 19th, defendant filed a motion requesting release of grand jury materials under qualified protective order. Motion to enlarge time. That sounds really professional, doesn't it? Hey, bro, I need to enlarge the time.
Hey, bro. Hey, bro.
Enlarge time to file pretrial motions and motion to make available the record of all proceedings of the grand jury. On May 26th, the state filed its response to the defendant's motion to enlarge time. The state noted that it did not object to the defendant's motion to enlarge time. That's what she said. And went a step further by concurring in his request for additional time. So they're saying, hey, we didn't argue with the fact that the dude wants extra time. We're cool with that. We were even supportive of extra time because they don't want to rush things, right? So if they rush things, then they run into problems where he can later on say, you know, they rushed through this. They didn't file the motions that I asked. I didn't get the information that I needed for my defense. So then it says, as noted in the response, the state had also provided a proposed stipulation to defendant's counsel on May 25th. After the parties were unable to reach an agreement as to the scope of the grand jury materials that would be subject to release, the state submitted its supplemental response to defendant's motions regarding the grand jury record and transcript on June 6th. On June 13th, the defendant filed a reply to the state's supplemental response to the defendant's motions regarding the grand jury record and transcript, addressing the substantive legal arguments that state set forth in its June 6th supplemental. Also on the 13th of June, the defendant filed a motion to stay. Defendant asserts that he, quote, intends to contest the indictment and asked this court to stay this matter so he may, quote, discover the grounds upon which to file a motion to dismiss related to how the grand jury was selected, end quote. In his motion to stay, defendant relies solely on Idaho Code 2-213. Defendant's reliance on Idaho Code 2-213 is misplaced. That statute provides that a party can request a stay where there has been a, quote, substantial failure to comply in selecting the grand or trial jury. Under 2-213, a motion to stay must contain a, quote, sworn statement of facts, which, if true, would constitute a substantial failure to comply with this chapter. Only after the court determines that a substantial failure to comply has occurred can the matter be stayed. And then they're going to go into detail about this. Upon motion filed under subsection 1 of this section, containing a sworn statement of facts, which, if true, would constitute a substantial failure to comply with this chapter, the moving party is entitled to present in support of the motion the testimony of the jury commissioner or the clerk, any relevant records and papers not public or otherwise available used by the court jury commissioner or the clerk, and any other relevant evidence that the court determines that in selecting either a grand jury or trial jury, there has been a substantial failure to comply with this chapter. The court shall stay the proceedings pending a selection of the jury in conformity with this chapter, quash an indictment, or grant other appropriate relief. So, like I said, I'm no lawyer, but what I'm getting from this is that he has to have some sort of a sworn statement as to why he thinks that the grand jury wasn't chosen correctly. So he says, I'll let you know why after. So he wants to see if there's a problem so that he can find something in here. He wants all this shit so he can find something in there. And they're like, no, that's not the way it works. You have to tell us what you think was done wrong. And then if you can prove that by getting this material, then you get a stay. And then we handle it from there. But you can't just, shoot in the dark and hope that something's there. As the plain language of the statute makes clear, a moving party must make a factual showing of substantial failure to comply with the statute, and only after a court makes a finding that such failure to comply occurred can the court stay the matter. Defendant's motion is deficient because he did not include a sworn statement of facts, which, if true, would constitute a substantial failure to comply with this chapter. Rather than include a sworn statement, defendant asserts in a footnote that Mr. Kohberger will comply with filing a sworn statement of facts in accordance with IC 22132 as soon as he has the grand jury record. By including this promise to file a sworn statement in the future, defendant implicitly concedes that his motion is deficient at the present. Because defendant has failed to comply with this key requirement, his motion should be denied. And then there's a footnote here. It is unclear to the state how defendant could assert that he will swear to the court that a substantial failure to comply with the law in the jury selection process occurred when he has yet to review the grand jury materials upon which he intends to rely. So it's backward. He's putting the cart. Look, defendant asked this court to put the cart before the horse. Stay the case now, and the defendant will give the court a basis for the stay later. The court should decline to adopt this backward reading of the requirements of Idaho Code 2-213, and defendant's motion should be denied. And that's not true. Just because you have a death penalty case doesn't mean you get to see everything. There's rules in Idaho. There's laws in Idaho regarding grand jury. And you know what? Let them challenge the grand jury indictment. I'm sure the state's not really worried about it. Because you know what they'll do? If they throw out the grand jury indictment, they'll just have a prelim. They're just going to have a prelim. It'll be the same thing. It's just a delay tactic, in my opinion, from someone who sat in Pennsylvania and said, I can't wait to get back to Idaho because I'm going to be exonerated. I'm going to be exonerated. What happened to that? For all the people that think Bryan Kohberger did not do this and is being set up, what happened to him being exonerated? Where is that evidence? It was a lie. He couldn't wait to get back to Idaho because, you know why? Because he wanted to see what they had on him. He couldn't see it until he got back there because of the Idaho laws. So he needed to get back there to get that shit unsealed because they wouldn't even show him until he is in Idaho and he is booked. Then he would see the indictment and everything they have against him in order to arrest him. So, of course, he was in a hurry because he didn't know what the hell they had. This dude did so much fuckery. He was like, I'm not sure what they have, so I need to get back there so I can see. Then he gets back there and there's no exoneration. We've got him filing motions via his attorney in order to intimidate witnesses. And he's hoping that these small town cops fucked up somehow. Hey, Megan, good to see you, honey. And you know what? Because it could be a death penalty case, they're going to challenge everything. But what happened to his exoneration? That's what I'm wondering. He was all big to say, I'm going to be exonerated. Bethany Funk has exculpatory evidence. He's trying to scare them, in my opinion. In my opinion only. And giving him the names, addresses, and phone numbers of these people, you can't do that. You can't do that. There's a reason for grand juries, and they have to keep that secret, because if they don't, it ruins the whole grand jury process and the point of a grand jury. Right. Where is his exculpatory evidence? He said he was going to be exonerated before he even came back. So it's been over 6 months since he came back to Idaho. What's going on? It takes 6 months to come up with an alibi. If you have a solid alibi, why does it take 6 months? He wants to see what they have so that he can curtail his alibi around it. And it doesn't work that way. You don't get to see the prosecution's all their cards. You just don't. That's the way it works. And he knows that the public is reading all of this, and he knows that some of the people in the public might think, oh my God, this is like really shady because, like the police chief's wife is the clerk and, this dude's being railroaded. But if they have everything on Rebecca Swift, you have to be found guilty first to be exonerated by the judge. If he had exonerating evidence, he could have presented it by now. The coroner did no drug test. How do you know, AF? How would you know what the coroner did and didn't do? Are you privy to the autopsy report that was redacted? Because I'm not. And it's funny because in her interview, she said she did. And she said that she didn't think that it would change the cause of death. So who cares about a toxicology report? When you have 4 people that were stabbed to death, why does toxicology even matter? Who cares if they were on something? Does it mean they deserve to get stabbed to death? Stupid. It's stupid. But she said they did do toxicology. So I don't know why you're saying they didn't and saying it as fact like you're privy to some information that nobody else is.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I mean, to state things like that as fact, weird. Weird. Why do you want people to think they didn't do something that they did? That's weird to me. He won't get off, guys. He won't get off peas in a pod. If he did it, they'll be able to prove he did it. There's no such thing as a perfect crime. There really isn't. People can get away for years and years and years. Look how long BTK got away. Look how long Danny Rolling got away. This dude is not as crafty as they were. He might be, intelligent, book smart, like he read criminology books, but you don't read a criminology book and then be able to commit the perfect murder. It doesn't fucking work that way. We have guys who committed murders for 15 years and still couldn't commit the perfect murder. There's no such thing. People make mistakes. People are human. They leave things behind. This dude's playing a huge game, and he thinks that he's going to become, the next Ted Bundy. And he loves every minute of it. He loves every minute of it. So let's take a look at this picture. I meant to show you guys this the other day. And this is the morning of the 13th. And this is when the cops are over here and they're going through the dumpster. This is right in front of the King Roadhouse. At the bottom of your screen would be their driveway. And you can see that white Elantra parked off to the side here. And that is actually the morning of the murders. So I think they have a lot on him. They are, Miss Robinson, and that's the whole glory of a grand jury. So if they throw out the grand jury indictment and he wins this argument, they'll just have a preliminary and they'll produce their evidence at a preliminary. He wants to be able to intimidate these witnesses with his eyeballs. Crazy Acres says, if you have a fruit fly, you better let the frog back in. No shit, right?
Given the fallout from...
Yeah, they spent a lot of time on that dumpster. I agree with you, Diana. I agree with you. All right, let me go back to our live screen. Get off the boob tube here for a minute. It should pull up your guys' chat box on here and we can chit chat for a few minutes. And right now, I just want to take an opportunity to let you guys know about the Patreon. We are going to be doing once a week lives in Patreon on Wednesdays. So you'll be able to, we'll do like meet and greet type thing, like Q&A. We're not always going to be just talking about Idaho 4. So if you'd like to join that Patreon, you can click the link in the chat if the mods would be so great to pull that up. So where is our chat box? It should be popping up any second now. Silent Witness, SW. So here's a thought that I had about two things. The first thing I had a thought about was drugs. I know a lot of people think that there's drugs involved here in some aspect, and there could be, but I don't think that it has to do with the victims personally, unless one of them befriended him and it had something to do with drugs. But I don't think at the end of the day it will have anything to do with the actual killings. I think the actual killings, in my opinion, is a rejection crime. I don't think it's anything other than that. But I do think that there could be some underlying things, obviously there's a huge drug problem across this nation. And we can clearly see that there's a drug problem in Moscow, in Pullman, and we can see all that. But it doesn't mean that it's related to this. So if they do have some witnesses that knew Bryan Kohberger, because maybe he bought drugs off him, maybe he bought pot, I don't know. And I think that's why they came out and they said, we don't care if you were, like, they had Brian Etten make this big statement in front of the house. We don't care if you were smoking pot or whatever, they said, or whatever. Please come forward with your information. Thank you, Raggedy Hobo. Welcome. So I just feel like he's just trying to put any kind of doubt he can. And he knows there's a drug problem. This dude studied this area, in my opinion. It's nothing new to him, I don't think. So, search warrant? Oh, could be the search warrant video. Okay, yep. Kaylee's dad allegedly said jealousy. And I want to talk about that too. Because jealous of what? I think jealous of their life that they had. Whatever it was, the being social, the having a lot of friends, the, going and doing things with friends. I feel like there's been problems with this kid for his whole life. And we haven't even heard the half of it yet. He then says he thinks he's really smart because he got away, but in reality, he didn't get away. No, he didn't. But it's just funny to me that he's trying to find, anything he can to poke a hole in this case. I mean, which is what you're supposed to do. But if he had he was big talking this exculpatory evidence. And it's like, bring it, dude. If you have exculpatory evidence, what are you waiting for? Who would want to sit in jail for 6 months waiting on exculpatory evidence? Like, he said it before he even knew what they had on him. So in my opinion, if he didn't do it, he should have already proven that by now, if that's the case. Hello, Leslie Densley Watkins. Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. I sent you the email about Bundy and my best friend killed in high school. Oh, thank you, Leslie. If he had an alibi, he wouldn't be charged. It's over for him. He knows it. He's just playing all he can. I agree with you, Mike C. I really do. Can't say I don't agree here. He's throwing everything and anything against the wall to see if it'll stick. Yep. No, sorry. According to Idaho law AF, he doesn't. We've already read the law. He's not entitled to their names, addresses, and phone numbers. You're wrong. Go read the Idaho law AF. As fuck. As fuck.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Yeah, there'd already been a motion to dismiss. He's gotten 51 terabytes. 51 TB. Thank you, AK. AK Verse. This trial is going to be unreal. Yeah, if it goes to trial. If it goes to trial. Leslie says, Jay, he's leading us all down holes to decide which alibi to use. My opinion. I agree. I think so too. Well, I mean, we did lead with love. We read the law the other day, and we read exactly what they have to turn over in a grand jury indictment. And if it comes down to it, if they have to, dismiss that indictment or whatever they call it, quash it, then he's going to get a prelim. He's going to get a prelim. So if there's any witnesses that are sketchy individuals that, oh, hey, Paper Chaser, thank you. Thank you for using the tip center. Was BK on a DoorDash? I don't know. Anne has to play the game. That's Anne's job as a defense attorney, is to play the game. Like, if he wants to submit some ridiculous motion, all she can do is advise him. Like, all she can do is go, you know what? I don't think this is, appropriate for whatever reason. And he can say, well, I do. And she has to do it. Thank you. Mike Sanner. Personal info goes to the court, but not available for the public, as it should be. And that is specifically the Idaho law. We've looked it up. We've read it. It's plain in black and white what they have to release from a grand jury indictment and what they don't. Because those people in the grand jury have a right to privacy and they have a right to safety. And when you're indicting mass killers, you are entitled to your privacy. So AF, I don't know what rule book you're reading. It must be the rule book of AF, but the rule book of AF isn't applicable in this case. We're looking at the rule book of Idaho in this case.
I heard Eduardo with like a G.
The clerk, wife of the chief, should have recused herself as the elected clerk. Why would she recuse herself? Everything she did is on record. There's no reason to recuse herself because she's married to the chief. Give me a break. Talk about pulling at strings. Maybe you should go visit Kohberger. Let him know what he should go after. I mean, why is such a hard on for this guy? He's where he is because they had enough to put him there. So I don't understand the big hard on for Bryan Kohberger. It's gross. It's gross. Let the process play out. He's there for a reason. He's not there because he was innocent. There's something holding him there. So I don't know. Maybe set up a visit with him. Maybe Ann Taylor needs your input. She doesn't know the Idaho law. She needs the AF rule book to get through the case. I can't. I really, really can't. We have like one of the most qualified attorneys in Idaho, and people on YouTube think she needs their help. She doesn't. She don't need you. She don't need you. She's not looking at what you're bringing. She has professional investigator, right? And we're going to talk about him. The investigator in this case. Let's see if I can pull up a video for you guys to show you a little bit about him and his expertise. And AF, I'd love to see your resume. I wonder if it's as good as this investigator here. Let's take a look.
We worked together on some cases. I've known Matt for several years. And I think the things...
It just cracks me up. It's like, dude, let Ann Taylor do her job. Like, she's... I can't... All right, so let's learn a little bit about the expert that Ann Taylor has hired. This might actually hurt Kohberger in the long run. You never know. You never can tell. All right, so he does a lot of ballistics. He does crime scene reenactments. This dude has been doing this for a long time. He used to actually work for the Idaho State Police. Let's go back to the boob tube. Let's go back to the boob tube here. This is the kind of stuff that we need to educate ourselves on. These are the people that are investigating this case, not YouTubers. Ann Taylor doesn't need a YouTuber. She's got people like this that the state is paying. So here is a little clip from an interview he did on this podcast. And I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but here we go.
We worked together on some cases. I've known Matt for several years. And I think the things that strike me most about Matt and why I think he's going to be a great guest is that he's very inquisitive. And today, and just to talk.
Great. Thank you, Eugene. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today.
All right, great. Well,
okay, so on the right, this is Nodell, Matt Nodell, I think his name is. Nodell Scientific is his company. And you're going to hear a little bit about his background.
I just want to start maybe a little bit at the beginning and maybe give some background. There's obviously going to be some professionals here, some students, different people that may want to chime in either now or even later. I'm interested in how you first got started. So I know you were at the Washington State Lab. Were you doing crime scene reconstruction right from the beginning, or did you sort of migrate over?
Pretty quickly after starting with the State Patrol, I became a member of the crime scene response team as basically as a student mentor. I was mentored by the senior members of the organization. My career actually started a few years prior to that, where I was working in a private laboratory in forensic toxicology. In the toxicology lab, we didn't do a lot of reconstruction, and we certainly were not doing shooting incident reconstruction. But I got out of that job and right into the Washington State Patrol, where I was doing chemistry and trace evidence analysis. And an opportunity came up with the crime scene response unit, and I took that responsibility on as well. and have been in that continuously ever since. So I'm about 30 years into the field of studying crime scenes and primarily shooting reconstruction and how to reconstruct events that have involved the discharge of a firearm.
Okay. And you've, I mean, obviously you went private at some point, and I'm just wondering, what was the impetus to sort of move from there to your own practice?
Well, there were a number of things going on. I had been with the Washington State Patrol for 15 years, and working as a private consultant was something that was always interesting to me. Being able to run my own business and make my own decisions. So the time seemed right when I left the State Patrol to go forward and start out on my own. I'd gained tremendous experience through my time at the Washington State Patrol, so that served me very well. Ultimately, it was a decision where I was glad to begin to run my own show and sample the water outside of the government business. Government comes with a lot of baggage, of course, so it was nice to be independent and be able to call my own shots, work my own cases, and make the decisions for myself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally get it.
Okay. So that's just a little clip of his background. I thought that maybe you guys would find that interesting. So he worked for the Washington State Patrol before going off on his own. This is Ann Taylor's expert. So let's take a look at what he did on January 3rd. Okay. So on January 3rd, this man was at the house. Idaho murder suspect, Bryan Kohberger's parents, it says parents, I don't know why it says parents, I don't know if that's true, hire crime scene expert. It doesn't seem to me that his parents are hiring them. You guys hear that? Listen again. If you're promoting another channel, then yeah, it would pick up foul language. I don't know what you said, but that's the way it's going these days. J is for Justice is not a billboard for other channels no longer. You make your mom proud, little boy? I'll have to check what the blacklist looks like, Mandy. That doesn't seem right. Your husband hired me to put that in the blacklist so you couldn't talk smack about him. Okay, so let's read about this. Bryan Kohberger's defense team has hired a veteran Washington State crime scene reconstruction expert. Okay, yeah, if you use the word of another creator, it's going to get blacklisted because that is not allowed here. That is a blacklisted word.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
I had a hard time hearing you. Do you mind?
J is for Justice is officially done with bullshit. Let's see. Forensic expert Matthew Nodell, owner and operator of Nodell Scientific, and his team spent 5 hours inside the home. 5 hours. While Kohberger faced a Pennsylvania judge on Tuesday and agreed to be extradited, Nodell's team painstakingly examined the inside of the 3-story and the perimeter of the property. The Post confirmed with Moscow police, Kohberger's legal team, including his state-appointed defense attorney, Ann Taylor. Nodell was seen going in and out of the home wearing white gloves and surgical foot covers over his shoes. According to the website, Nodell's specialties include crime scene reconstruction, blood stain pattern analysis, and shooting reconstruction. So he spent 5 hours in the house. This is him coming in and out. He claims more than 30 years experience in the field and provides 2D and 3D models of his findings when called to testify as an expert in court. The evaluation and examination of bloodstains at crime scenes is often overlooked and misunderstood, he says. Bloodstains can exist on clothing, walls, hidden behind baseboards, or under carpets. Do not underestimate the significance of bloodstains. Over the years, Nodell has been called as an expert defense witness to numerous shocking cases, including the trial of Christopher Cruz, who was charged with the 2015 murder of his wife, Jeanette Pigman Cruz, in Worthington, Ohio. Nodell offered a second opinion on firearm and crime scene analysis on the Cruz case, and jury ended up acquitting him after 12 hours of deliberation. Nodell was also used as a speaking expert in a Fox investigation into rapper Tupac Shakur's death. Look at this guy's face. He's like, oh my God. Shooketh. There was blood everywhere. We have investigators who have been on the job for 20, even 30 years, and they say they have never seen anything like this, a police source told the Daily Mail at the time. A trail of blood oozing from the foundation of the home is still visible and has remained untouched for more than a month. There we are. I was trying to find myself. Plans to have a private crime scene cleanup crew take over King Street home last week was scrapped after a judge ordered the home to be preserved. I wonder if they did that. Like, I wonder if they brought that crime scene cleanup crew in order to like make him think like, phew, they're going to destroy evidence. Like, yay, they're not going to have the evidence. And then pulled out and he went, uh-oh. Yeah, it's really not funny that these other creators harass me and that they have to go on a block list. Like, that should tell you they're assholes. Okay? I shouldn't have to put any adults on block lists because they can't leave me the fuck alone. So if you think it's funny, that's great. I don't think it's funny. I'm personally trying to do a job, and I don't appreciate it being, you know, people trying to sabotage me all the time. I'm sick of it. So I'm sick of it. Sick of it. I don't think it's fucking funny. So there you go. But yeah, I found a video about blood spatter as well. That was really interesting. When blood actually hits the air, it turns into a totally different kind of substance. You know, and I'm not trying to be a bitch here. I'm just asking for respect. And I think that, you know, that's, if you come into my home, this is like my home. This is my house. My house. And I just expect respect. I don't think that it's funny that I've been sabotaged to the point where, you know, I can't talk to my viewers about exciting things that happen. I think that's bullshit. So we have nothing proves Emma Bailey has anything to do with these murders. It's stupid to keep bringing her name into it. There's no evidence of that. Bryan Kohberger has never mentioned Emma Bailey. Moscow police have never mentioned Emma Bailey. The FBI has never mentioned Emma Bailey. Why are you dragging this girl's name into it? She obviously has a drug problem, which isn't funny either. right? Drug problems aren't funny. People that have addictions aren't funny. 22-year-old girls that are selling drugs aren't funny. She obviously needs help. She obviously needs help. No, it's not go Jay. I'm just standing up for myself. It's bullshit. I should be able to conduct a podcast without having people trying to infiltrate my team and causing problems. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm done with it. I'm done with it. So I'm going to show you guys the video about the blood. Let me see if I can find it here in my history really quick. It's super interesting, and I was going to save it, but now that we're talking about this, we can just show it and talk about it. It was in a podcast I watched. Give me a second here, you guys. Oh, and you know what else has been reversed or released? The body cam in the Taylor Parker case, which is crazy. Mike Sanner, Jay is for Justice podcast, jealousy and immaturity. Hopefully their members will drop them karma. It's confirmed same bracelet. What are you talking about? Pandora bracelet?
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Guess he's gonna need extra slaw in a second.
AF's gonna need extra slaw in a second.
Guess he's gonna need extra slaw in a second.
Hang on, I'm trying to find it here. The New Detectives. Here it is. I gotta find the spot. It was on The New Detectives. You guys ever watch The New Detectives?
Two opposing holes in the skull.
Thank you, Leslie Watkins. Just you being here, watching my videos and clicking that like button is all I need from you to keep this bish going. All right, let's see if this is the part. Hold on.
Shreds of tape. When someone disappears, it's difficult for police to prove murder without a body.
Oh. You know what? I'm going to put you guys on pause for a second. I'll be right back. I'm going to find this dang video and we're going to go over. We're going to talk about the blood evidence. I'll be right back. I found it. I found it. Okay, here we go. This is going to tell us about blood spatter. I don't think this is the same exact video, but this looks like it might be a little more thorough anyways. But The New Detectives is a show. I don't know if they still make new shows or not, but it's an older show, kind of like the FBI Files. But The New Detectives tells you all the different crime scene analysis they use and stuff like that. Thank you, Fallon. Thank you guys all for your support.
For us is that our viewers understand each of the terms, because we're talking about these terms in the interviews, and I just want
Cast is a result of a bloody object in motion. So cast off is if I keep the blood that's on my hand and I fling my hand like that. Those larger stains are in what I would call kind of a linear fashion. And they're all going, you can see the directionality, they're going up the wall.
Because when you cast off the blood, it was moving in an upward direction.
Yes.
So we have cast off, we have impact. What's the other stains that we were looking at? What's transfer staining?
So I have a bloody surface coming in contact with a non-bloodied surface, and then I move my hand. So it's called a swipe. It's a bloodied surface with a non-bloody surface with movement. And now again, I can see something contacted the wall.
Transfer, you have impact, you have cast off, all different ways in which blood may end up at the scene.
Yes.
And each one of these will tell a different part of the story.
Yes, when studied properly, I take the size of the pattern, the overall location in the room, how many stains I'm seeing, their overall distribution, the average size of each of those stains, all of those come into play.
The idea of conducting experiments in which you might cast off blood or try to produce an impact spatter, the idea of all of that is to try to see what kind of fit there is between the stains created, the spatter created, and the facts of the account that you've been.
AF, I really wish you would stop stating things as fact when they're not, okay? A latent print does not mean it was necessarily wiped up. It could just have remnants of materials on the bottom of the shoe which left a latent print that they can't see with the naked eye. That's all it means. It doesn't mean it was wiped up. It means it's something that's not visible to the naked eye. So you're throwing your own little spin that it was wiped up. No one said it was wiped up. It's just a print that wasn't visible to the naked eye. So let's keep our evidence factual and not add our spin to it. Thanks. That's when things get murky, when you add your spin.
Yeah, I think it's responsible to conduct experiments in your scene.
Okay, so now watch this. When this guy drops, watch this.
There we go. Hi, I'm Matthew Steiner.
Matt is a certified senior crime scene analyst. He's explained crime scene forensics in Technique Critique.
All right, see you, Mike.
Interesting yet very illegal way to get DNA from somebody. Today I'm going to show you how to analyze various bloodstain patterns.
In this episode, we'll learn the techniques forensics experts use to investigate bloodstain patterns, ranging from easy to difficult.
Next we do is calculate the area of convergence. That's a two-dimensional area on our surface. If we draw a line through the long axis of several stains where all these lines will meet, they should converge in an area somewhere in the center here. What I want to do is pick several stains that are elliptical from different sides of the pattern. We're looking at this to solve where this blood came from. I'm going to start with this stain here, and I'm going to line up so that I'm drawing a line through the long axis of my stain. So this is where the tail is going to help me out to figure out the directionality, but also to line up my ruler. And then sometimes what we'll do is just kind of show for a jury an arrow the direction that stain was going.
So they're going to be able to identify all these stains. You guys think that the house wasn't bloody? There was definitely blood spatter. I mean, let's face it. Now look at the drip patterns. This is what I thought was interesting because I think there's drip patterns in the back on the patio and also in the rocks. And remember, we saw like that bloody footprint or fingerprints or whatever was on that bloody rock.
So if I go to a crime scene and I see that there's some clothing there, eventually I'm going to recover this. But after I recover it and I see that there's passive stains underneath it, I know that this came after this, that this wasn't in place, that this was placed afterwards. And if I don't see a transfer of blood on here, it could be that this was already dry by the time this clothing went on top of it. So now we're looking at a passive drip pattern. This could be the victim's blood, this could be the suspect's blood. We won't know until we sample it and send it off for analysis. What we can interpret from this could be movement. So if this trail of blood is leading away from the scene, we would see those tails going in a direction of travel. Now we're looking at a white pattern. We have a pre-existing stain that something came in contact and moved through it. So we could see from our discussion earlier of feathering that the directionality is coming towards me. Something is passively dripping blood. That could be a weapon, that could be a victim, that could be our suspect, and then something later on comes through it. That could be someone trying to clean up the stain. This could also be that maybe someone was dragged through this or there was some sort of movement through that stain. So that was a white pattern. Now we have a swipe pattern. Blood is on something here, and we could see, again, that same feathering going in a direction of travel. We have a transfer pattern with movement, which is a swipe pattern. There's blood on something, and then we're just moving that in a direction. Usually when it's a white pattern, we could see those original stains. So they're drying, and then someone tries to wipe them off with a cloth. Now we're looking at a cast-off pattern. So this is a subcategory of spatter. That's a projection mechanism. So blood is on an object, and we're moving that object in space. That could be someone's hand, that could be a pipe, that could be a bat, that could be a knife. And as that object moves, blood will be flung off it, and we have these very distinct linear patterns or curvy linear patterns. At a crime scene, if we see these cast-off patterns, they can go up the walls, they can go across the floor, and even onto the ceiling. So we're looking at a spatter pattern, but we have a normally continuous drops of blood that are being interrupted or blocked by something. And that gives us a pattern, what's called a void. Sometimes we have crime scenes where there's something important that would be in that pool or in that pattern or that spatter pattern, and it's been removed. So it could be someone's bag or a cell phone, their wallet. I had a crime scene where someone was bludgeoned, and adjacent to his head was the complete absence of blood spatter. Looking to the left of him, there was a spatter pattern that didn't line up. What we determined was that the curtains inside of the hotel room were open at the time of the crime and then closed later on. We've gone over how these patterns are created, our different categories of patterns, and what we can interpret from these patterns at a crime scene. This is not a simple process. This stuff takes time, training, and experience. And beyond that, there's no absolutes with any of this. There's no one specific answer.
So, there's going to be experts that have different opinions, but do you see how detailed even the blood spatter evidence will be in this case? This man, Matt, spent 5 hours in there. And when blood hits air, it changes its consistency. It becomes thick, kind of like glue. And I'm going to show you what blood looks like when it hits the air. Okay, here is Matt Steiner again, the guy we just watched, and he's got some information here. Okay, he's taking some questions, which this is interesting. So let's listen to this for a minute.
B977 asks, how many people got away with murder before forensic science improved and DNA? It's a good question. I think another good question would be, how many people were wrongfully convicted before forensic science? Science is constantly improving, and our goal is the truth. And we just want our investigation to show that. Years ago, a guy goes out to his car, there's a bag of trash next to his door, and he does what a lot of people would do, is just kicks the bag. Unbeknownst to him, there was a pipe bomb in that bag, and it detonated. This is back in 2002, and we had no answers. 2006, I pulled some of this evidence from storage, and I re-swabbed the wiring and the cap and the threading to the pipe bomb and send that off for analysis. Because in those short 4 years, DNA has advanced. We identified this person. Inside of his car, he had more pipe bombs and automatic weapons. So sometimes the work that we do not only can solve crimes, but it could also save lives. Seba J. Parker asks, how do forensics determine from blood spatter? Are there experiments where you crack open dead bodies with different weapons under different circumstances? First off, it's not blood splatter, it's blood spatter. Blood isn't always red. It could be different colors and tones. Blood from your arteries would be bright red, where the blood from your veins would be a darker color. As that blood dries, it gets oxidized, it's contaminated by the crime scene. It could also change its color and tone. If we have a suspect stain and we don't know what it is, oftentimes we'll do what's called a presumptive test, like we have here. This is an OBTI test. We'll tell you whether that sample could be blood. You still have to sample it. You would send it to a laboratory, and they would say what it is and sometimes to whom it belongs to. Cadavers, though, to your question, generally are not used for bloodstain pattern analysis, but they are used at some universities. And they put bodies in different circumstances. So maybe they'll put the body in a car, they'll put it outside in the open, in a field, different environments to see how those bodies decompose over time. LRCF asks, how did one of the most infamous unsolved crimes committed on Valentine's Day in 1929 lead to new forensic science techniques in ballistics and a reform in gun control? What they're referring to is the Valentine's Day massacre in Chicago in 1929. 7 Irish mobsters were lined up against the wall and they were shot to death. The weapons of choice in this crime was the Thompson submachine gun, or Tommy gun. Back then, anyone could walk into a store and purchase one of these weapons.
Okay, that's all about gun. Let's see what this has to say here.
Going on, flailing the arms or running through the scene.
Here we go. Watch this. This is interesting because this might be more so what happened
That's
there.
what we're concerned with, especially the violent scene. Blood has very cohesive properties to it. The molecules of blood want to hold together. They want to stay together. So often we think of a scene as a violent scene where someone is either seriously injured or killed, there's going to be a lot of blood all over the scene. And that's not necessarily so. I brought some instruments in today. Okay, here's a sharp instrument, simulates a knife. And if I dip it into some simulated blood here, which has a viscosity or a thickness very similar to actual blood, probably a little thinner, and I pull it up, you're going to see a few drops come off initially. Drops. All right, but then it stops. Okay, and then only every once in a while something will drip. All right, again, you would have to dip it back into the blood to get more blood to come off of it again. Okay, but quite a few drops initially come out, but then it holds to the surface. Again, those blood molecules want to hold together. So if someone has a knife and they just stabbed another person and they're standing still at a scene or just moving slowly, not a whole lot of blood's going to drip off that knife. You get a few initial drops and that'll be it. If you see a lot of drops coming off, that's probably because a lot of motion going on, flailing the arms or running through the scene. The type of instrument matters. If I take a hammer, I put the hammer head in here. Remember the same properties again, and we don't get any blood dripping off.
Look at that.
Okay, and you probably have to stand there a while before the first drop's going to come off, the second, and maybe that'll be it. Again, though, if we put motion into it, then you get some. So
they can tell if there's motion with the scene.
And that's important for the students to understand.
Hence the defensive
They initially think that whatever blood scene they go to, there's going to be a lot of blood. All right. The other thing we go over is. There's 3 different types of blood spatter we look at. First is low velocity. Low velocity is passive drops, okay? And passive drops are just blood being pulled by gravity, dripping down to a surface, just like that. And when you look at them, they just form nice circular shapes. If you measure the width and length, they come out to be the same, okay? And we get a lot of this at a scene, all right? So if someone's standing in one place, holding a weapon, or if they have an open wound, they may be dripping where they're standing. What it really tells us also is that if someone's moving slowly, and they're just walking, you're going to get drips, all right? And again, they're just going to be circular drips, so.
Circular drips.
Just like similar to someone standing in place. But if someone starts moving quickly, and brisk walk or running, now those shapes are going to become elongated. And they tell us quite a bit. They tell us now that the person was either walking fast or running. It may show them exiting the room. It'll show us direction of where they were moving and give us a lot more information. Okay, and that's where we begin. And then there's also medium velocity patterns and high velocity. And we'll go to another room in a few minutes. We'll show you a simulated scene that we created, and we'll go over the other patterns. Okay, so now carrying on from the lab, now we're in the bloodstain room. Okay, we create this for the students so they can take what they've learned in the classroom and apply it to a simulated scene. Okay, and we do this for bloodstain pattern analysis, and we do it for their photography course. They'll come in here and photograph the stains as well.
It's so interesting. I wish I would have went to school for this stuff, you guys.
Carrying on from where we were before, we talked about those passive blood drops. And as you can see here, we have some nice passive blood drops, just dripping at a vertical 90-degree angle to the floor, dripping off an item, dripping off a wound. Okay, they're different sizes because the volume of blood is different. We can't, we know what the volume of blood was, but we can tell at least it was dripping off something. All right, we have a number of stains here. We have transfer stains. Okay, you can see someone walk through some blood here. We have a stain here where there's a void here. Something was there, and the blood went around it, and that item was removed. It's called a void. Here we have someone was striking into a blood source. It's either blood that was on the surface pooled here, or it was on an object, and someone was striking into it, stepping into it. Energy was applied there, and you can see the blood is forced out in all directions. Okay, gives us some more information. All right, so the students would come in here and they look at the floor first. Of course, we removed all the evidence from it. If there was a body in here or other evidence, they collect that, and then they make their determinations from what they observe on the floor. Okay, next what we do, we talked in the lab about the passive blood drops, the low velocity drops. This is
what I'm interested in right here.
And medium spatter, this is what we look at primarily when we're trying to separate out events, what occurred in a room. So we look at a room like this, if we went all around the room, you're going to see these different types of patterns around the room. And we may be able to separate those out into different events and tell you how many different events happened. Someone struck into a blood source somewhere in this area, and the blood was projected onto the surface. And that's what the students did here. They looked at individual blood drops, okay? And you can see on the drop, it's elongated and it has a tail on it, okay? That tail is showing them direction. That means that that blood drop is going this direction. It's following the tail, all right? So they're picking drops that look like they probably belong to a similar event, and they trace a line through it. And you can see they grabbed a bunch of different drops, and they all converged in this general area called the area of convergence. All right? What they do next is the further photographs. They put a scale in there, and they photograph each drop, and it gives you size as well. Then they compute the angles of the drops, all right, with some basic trigonometry.
Basic trigonometry? Okay, I'm lost from that shiz. But that gives you an idea, like...
Side of the wall here.
And you remember we looked at that, we looked at the drone footage that went over the house and all of that, and it looked like there were circular blood spatter stains on that concrete. So I want to show you guys a couple pics that I zoomed in on from the crime scene that Fox Digital took. And I want to focus a little bit on Kaylee's room upstairs. So here's the first one. Oh, no, sorry, that's the wrong one. Kitchen. Here's the inside of Kaylee Gonsalva's room, okay? And I know we heard that she wasn't living there or whatnot, but it certainly looks like a bed that has been slept in here to me. And it's very blurry because it's taken from way behind the house and I zoomed in on it. But it looks like a bed that was slept in to me. Okay. So I'm not sure the dealio there. But if we look at also, is it this one? This right here I thought was interesting as well. It looks like the Bluetooth speaker possibly. This is in the kitchen. So it looks like there's a plugged in Bluetooth speaker. I know it does look like a crib. It does. You're right. And then we have this of the kitchen. And I wasn't sure what was on the wall behind here. So do you guys see it hanging on the wall, or is something dripping down the wall? I can't make out what that is. Try to enlarge it. Let me try to enlarge it. So there you have it. I don't know. Okay, so let's get our little drawing tool so I can kind of show you guys what the hell I'm talking about here. Okay. First, this thing here. What is that? I don't know what that is. And then the other thing is this. What is that? What do you think that is? No, the red tape is not on the cabinet. Actually, the red tape is on the window. It's to seal the window. So every time they go into the crime scene, they put that tape there because then they know that no one has been there and the scene has not been tainted. Lead with love because of YouTube's partner program rules. I was axed. So that's why I do Patreon. But yeah, they put that on every window and door so that they know when people go in and go out, and it stays secure. But I don't know what that is on the wall back there. If that's something hanging or I'm not sure. Not sure. Is that the refrigerator handle? Like the refrigerator door? Maybe? I don't know. I was just trying to figure out what the hell that was. So here's another one of the back at night when they're in there doing their luminol. They came back at night to do the luminol testing. And you can see upstairs in Kaylee's room, it is lit up by something, right? They've got the lights on up there. I don't know what they're doing in her room if she wasn't in there, but then we have the outside patio here. And then the kitchen window. But you can see the tape on there. It is the fridge. Thank you, Trix. But everyone thinks that this is going to have blood everywhere. And it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen like that. Here's a closer up of the patio and everything. It's hard to tell in these ones at night, you know, if there's blood on the patio. But in the daytime drone, you can almost see round spots. You can almost see round spots. Absolutely, Chopper. Everyone will find out when it goes to trial, for sure. For sure, but curious minds want to know now, right? And that's why we look at everything that we've been given to look at. So here's another one of the inside of the kitchen, which I noticed that the plant in this window is not disturbed. Okay, but let's take a look at what else is in this photo, guys. So we have a plant in the window, wasn't disturbed. We know he most likely did not go through this window. No one went through this window. But if you look at this box right here, there's an open box, and we're going to look at a little closer up in a second. But that has shoes and such in it. Okay. So let's go further and look a little closer at this box. Yes, there's a plant by the sink that was disturbed. That was all knocked over by the DoorDash bag. But now this is the first window next to the sliding glass door back there. And you can see there's food being made. There's empty drinks. There's mustard. There's Solo cups. It looks like there was a party, but also people cooked. People cooked. So I don't know what this like blanket or sheet thing is over here. It looks like there could be like blood on it. I don't know. But if you look at this box, guys, this is somebody's box that was packed. And there's shoes in it. Why is it open? Did he grab a set of shoes out of here? Did he grab a set of Vans out of here? Maybe. Who was moving out? Jack D? Did Jack D live here and then move out when they broke up and this was some of his shit? I don't know. But it seems to me that Bryan Kohberger could have been the one that rang Jack D's phone to get him over to the house so he could pin this quadruple murder on Jack D. I think that is definitely plausible. Obviously, my thoughts, I mean, that's just my take on it. I think he definitely could have called Jack D, wanting Jack D to come on over. And imagine this. Imagine if you're Jack D and you get this call and, you know, you rush over to help and you walked in and you see what was there. And he calls cops and says, oh my God, I just found my ex-girlfriend and her friends dead. Who do you think would have been arrested immediately? Who would have been arrested immediately? Jack D would have been arrested immediately. If you think about it, like, oh, I'm going to do all this. I'm going to call the boyfriend and I'm going to set him up because it's a crime of passion. Like he told the neighbor, it's a crime of passion. It's a crime of passion. Okay, one more picture before we stop here with these crime scene photos. Right here, we were talking about cords and things being unplugged the other day. It looks like right above Xana's window. This is Xana's side window. Let me show you give you the whole scope here. So this is the whole side of the house, okay? This is Xana's side window, which faces the neighbor, right? So the neighbor that would have had the Ring doorbell, this is the window that faces them. Now you see there's a cord going here, and then there's a cord and it's broken off. He may have made her leave a message. How do we know? Okay, how do we know that while all the roommates were out? Okay, here's another theory for you guys. How do we know while the other roommates were out, they were all gone for the evening? How do we know he didn't sneak in while they were all gone? And when the two surviving roommates came home, he was there. How do we know what Ethan and Xana walked into? How do we know what Kaylee and Maddie walked into? How do we know what Bethany and Dylan walked into? We don't. We don't know what transpired in that house from the minute they got home until the police showed up. We don't know. I have no idea what Kaylee said to him. I have no idea what a voicemail said. I have no idea if she had a gun to her head and was made to leave the message. I don't know. And neither does anyone else here. But we do know that he had a gun. And he could have been in there when they got home and held them. We don't know. But here's something else on the side of the house. See, there's like a cord that's cut here. Look up here. What's that? What's that? By Kaylee's door. He seriously could have emulated the BTK killer by cutting lines, by, doing all these things. So why would she text her boyfriend and say, we share a dog? It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. Hey, Georgia dog. Everybody say hi to Georgia dog with the frog. He's going to need extra slow in a second. Yes, he had a gun in his car. It was found at his parents' house. I don't know if we know he had a gun there, but there was a gun found in Pennsylvania. So we can assume that maybe he did. Daniel Doss thinks he impulsively went in there like he was on something, maybe blacked out drunk or on Xanax. Oh, Jack D has got to be. I mean, you know that he had to be completely interrogated, right? I know, Mandy. I thought the same thing, because that would be, I mean, these girls are not going to call anybody. They are not going to do anything on a turn if you have a gun. UGA alumni. I wonder if he was just trying to create a crime scene homage to various serial killers. I feel like it's a hodgepodge, like we've talked about before. I feel like it's a hodgepodge of a crime scene, of a crime. I really do. Here's the we already looked at that one. Hold on. I think I've got a couple more pictures. Oh, here's one. This is actually, there's a handprint here. See that one? Whose handprint is that? I mean, it could be from a party. It could be something like that. I don't know how many people at parties put their hands on windows. I mean, I guess anything's can happen. But clearly a handprint on the window. I mean, you can see it. You can see it. And people, there's not going to be blood all over the walls in this house, in the downstairs area. There's just not. It's not going to be overflowing with blood. I don't think the calls to Jack had anything to do with it. Don't think they were calling for help, and don't think killer was calling Jack from their phones. That would have taken too long. But the fact is, we don't know. We don't know. It's eerie as hell. It really is. But wouldn't it kind of explain the roommates not moving? I mean, you guys, we have to be logical. We can't, I mean, what's more plausible? That the roommates were held against their will and unable to call for help, or that there are these blonde girls that are in sororities that are big drug dealers and they're flushing drugs and hiding shit in walls and they're doing everything else. Come on. We are so lucky we didn't get disconnected. My computer just fell. My little Apple computer. Butter tortillas. It looks like they were trying to open the window, maybe. Yeah, we analyzed this a long time ago. I don't know if it's someone's trying to slide that window or not. Elliot Palak. Does Georgia dog just sleep like a frog, or does he bounce like a frog as he barks at the frog? What? Sleep like a frog or bounce like a frog? I don't get it. He doesn't do anything because he's going to need extra slaw in a second.
I guess he's going to need extra slaw in a second.
But having BK's DNA on the knife sheath isn't that good of evidence if that's all they have. BK could say he sold the knife on Craigslist or whatever. Elliot, I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. I really don't. It's a haiku. I think he may have carried a gun to control if necessary. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Robin Latham. Maybe I read that wrong. Potato, I still think Bethany didn't know and Dylan was doing what she was programmed to do, hide. Remember that time Jay brought her down to work? Is handprint inside or outside the window? We don't know. Could be either or, I guess. Can't tell. So yeah, I wanted to say about the sheath. Let's go back to our thing here. About the sheath. Let's talk about that. They already said they don't need it. The sheath is an added bonus for this case for them. An added bonus. They've already said we don't need it. We're not in need. Oh, does he sleep like a log or does he bounce like a frog while he barks at the fog? LOL. Oh, it's like a Dr. Seuss. No, I'm not a toad mom. No. I'm not a toad mom. No, you guys are getting this all wrong. I'm not a toad mom by any means. No toads.
Ashley, nobody said yikes, he hasn't come home, Ashley.
But all this talk about slaw, I am getting hungry. I'm getting hungry. What's for lunch? It's noon. What is for lunch?
Because you're a liar.
BK has a chance of getting off. It's low, but possible. I don't think so. D Love of God, after your video from schools on training to hide truly made sense to me. Kimber, but they put out things in the very beginning for the perps' benefit, not for us. So they can lie, and they do lie. And they do that as part of their investigation. Goshen, California murders are not similar. That was a gun. Execution style. It's not similar at all. There's no similarities in a drug hit to this. Drug hits are quick, not dirty, not bloody, and they don't involve a lot of time, and they definitely do not leave witnesses. In California, they killed a newborn baby or an infant. They don't leave witnesses. Sorry. They don't. They just don't do it. There was another shooting in Idaho last night, though. I don't know if you guys heard about this. Kellogg, Idaho. Can't make it up. Let's watch a little bit of this. There were 4 people shot in Shoshone County last night. I was listening to the scanner when I heard it come out. But they do have a suspect in custody, they say. So here we go. Here's a report on that. Hold on. Excuse me. Let's move this over here. How come my dogs always ditch me, man? Excuse me. Here's the shooting in Kellogg, Idaho last night.
Shoshone County. Right now, Idaho State Police say a 31-year-old man believed to be connected to the deaths is in custody, and there is no active threat to the community. According to the Shoshone County Sheriff's Office, sheriff's deputies and Kellogg police responded to the scene in Kellogg just last night.
The Shoshone News Press reports it happened in the area of Brown and Utah near the Mountain View Congregational Church. You're seeing a picture of that area right now. The sheriff's office says the investigation is ongoing.
I mean, what kind of photos are those? Let's see if there's any more footage.
That shooting happening at an apartment complex near Utah in Brown Street on the map there on your screen. And that's where our Peter Choi joined us live tonight with what we know so far. Peter, what can you tell us over there?
Yeah, Jordan, just a while ago, neighbors who live in this apartment complex, they weren't allowed to enter the buildings. But as of now, it seems to me that they're now allowed to go back to their homes. Jordan, now here's what we know so far. The Kellogg Police and the Shoshone County Sheriff's Office say they received a call around 7:30 Sunday night. The police say they found 4 people dead and arrested 31-year-old man.
They're not giving his name.
Police and Idaho State Police are investigating this scene right now. Now, neighbors here tell me this incident was the result of ongoing dispute between neighbors, but the police won't confirm this information at this time. Now, we'll keep you updated as more information becomes available.
That's all we know for now. So here's the Goshen thing that someone mentioned. This is gang violence. They said it was gang violence. This is a shooting. This has nothing to do with Idaho 4, and it's nothing like it. So let's listen.
We're able to identify those victims today and provide those to you. Many of you have already discovered who they are through social media. I would caution you, please don't be listening to factual information from social media. That is not where you will find your facts. I will keep you informed. I will make sure that you have what we have as we are able to release it to you for the integrity of the case. If you have questions, please reach out to our media services here at the Sheriff's Office. What we're able to give you, we will. One of the victims, when deputies arrived, was still alive. He immediately began CPR. Unfortunately, he died at the hospital. The victims are here. Eladio Perez, 52 years of age. Marcos Perez, 19 years of age. Jennifer Anaya, 49 years of age. Rosa Perez, 72 years of age. Alyssa Perez, 16 years of age. And Nicholas Perez, 10 months of age. I'd like to make a correction. On scene that night, we believe that the young teenage female was 17 years old. In fact, we later learned that she was 16 years old, and I believe I put out that she was. Intentional and horrific.
This was a shooting of a family. And this guy right here, Angel, had feuds with them. Look, this is the guy.
Beginning for two men accused of murdering 6 family members in Goshen. Now we're uncovering more about the violent history involving one of the suspects and the victims. Thanks for joining us for Action News Live at 5. I'm Jessica Harrington.
And I'm Graciela Moreno. The arraignment for Angel Uriarte was continued today, but we're digging deeper into court documents from his past arrests.
Action News South Valley reporter Eliza Navarro
This is nothing
live
like
at the South County Justice
nothing
Center
like
in
Idaho.
Louisville with how one of the victims of the massacre helped send Uriarte to prison nearly 9 years ago. Eliza?
Jessica, these are court documents I obtained yesterday in the courthouse, and in my hand there's 40 pages that go into detail about a shooting in 2014 in Goshen involving one of the suspects, Angel Uriarte, and some of the family members of the Parras family, and one of them includes one of the victims who died last month.
Yeah, this is nothing like
Since
Idaho.
the horrifying
Nothing.
night in Goshen on January 16th, the question remains as to why 6 people were killed, including a 10-month-old baby boy. Tulare County Sheriff Mike Boudreau confirmed the victim's family and the suspects are in rival gangs, but he also said a specific motive for the shooting is still unknown.
Okay, so they said gang activity, drug activity. This is a known problem. This has nothing, in my opinion, absolutely nothing to do with the Idaho 4 case. Nothing. It's not even remotely the same. They didn't leave any witnesses behind. They chased the 17-year-old girl and her baby down the sidewalk as she ran from the house. There's body cam of this girl, this 17-year-old girl, throwing her baby over the fence. And then she climbs the fence, grabs the baby, and runs. And guess what? They chased her down that sidewalk. They shot her and they shot the baby. It's no similarity to Idaho at all. Nothing. If it was a drug hit, if it was a cartel hit, those 2 girls would not be alive. Those 2 girls would not be alive. Elliot, I don't know what she could have seen, but I think that whatever she saw was horrible. Yeah, they don't even leave babies alive. The baby couldn't even talk, and they shot the baby down. So there's no way this is even remotely similar. And Bryan Kohberger is not a gang or a drug dude, trust me. He's freaking, he's a wuss. The guy couldn't get any play. He's a wuss. They're not going to go in there and stab and leave sheaths. And no, they're going to go in there. They're going to line the motherfuckers up. They're going to shoot them and they're out. That's how it goes. But people do it, Lorla. There's YouTubers that are on this cartel bandwagon and they won't stop. And it's literally such a stain on the victims' memories that it's just, and it's silly and stupid, but people believe this shit. It's craziness. Absolute craziness. Those two girls survived. They're survivors. Like, they're going to have a hard life ahead of them. They're going to have a hard life ahead of them. And us as the adults, we have to be the responsible ones and not make that life harder for them, right? Let the justice system do its job and not make these young girls' lives harder than they have to be. Bryan is Elliot Rodger type. Yeah, Bryan had no social skills. He was awkward. All these things that we've heard, you know. It's just, it's unimaginable that one person can create this kind of havoc in so many lives. It's sick. Yeah, he looks really gangsta, doesn't he? He's gangsta. Gangsta style. Here in Texas, we don't fuck around with the cartel. If anyone thinks it's cartel related, they need to stop watching the Mayans on FX. I believe in justice as well. Thank you so much. Yay, you're a lounger. Lead with love. Welcome. Thank you for becoming a lounger. You guys are awesome. I'm going to wrap this podcast up today, and I will be live again tomorrow, you guys. So thank you for tuning in. If you haven't given this video a like, please do. And share it out on your social media if you think that, you know, there was something that you learned that you didn't know before. And as always, stay safe out there, guys. And to everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. Everybody dance it out. Do we have any, wait, before we go, do we have any birthdays today? Because I have a new birthday. Do we have a birthday in the house? I need to know. We got 436 of you here. I need a birthday so I can share our new birthday video from J is for Justice. Someone just lie and say it's their birthday. Thank you, legal-minded friends. Karen Cole. Hello, so fucking cool. We don't have any birthdays. Peas in a pod. All right. Let's celebrate peas in a pod. Thank you for humoring me. Peas in a pod. Misty. Okay, this is for you as well. Happy birthday. Here's the newest birthday card from J is for Justice. Here you go.
Go, shorty. It's your birthday.
Happy birthday, everybody who has birthdays this month. We're just going to celebrate June birthdays right here and now. Even from Summeroo, she says happy birthday. So everybody dance it out. And thank you for being here and supporting my podcast. I appreciate you. See you guys tomorrow.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn.
You don't hold it accountable. Guess he's gonna need an extra slot a second. But I'm feeling differently. You're making plans, take it to friends, but don't wanna face the fact. I ain't got time.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. I don't want to see anybody else like
I new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack. Calling my phone when you feel alone, but I'll never call you back. I ain't got time.
You guys want one Jennifer or two Jennifers?
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Bye, Jennifer.